Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final Academy concert. I'm Jim Setapen, I'm the director of the Academy. We open our program tonight with music by the greatest composer from Finland, Jean Sibelius. Much of Sibelius's music captures the cold, bleak, austere quality of parts of his country. This piece is called a Canzonetta, which means simply a little song. The melodies in this little song are very beautiful, but I think they also capture a kind of quality. I was trying to think of what the word was, and I think they sound lonely, as if this man were sitting in his home, snow all around, the nearest neighbor far, far away, and he's just deep in his solitude. He writes this beautiful, lonely piece, this Canzonetta, little song. For those of you new to these concerts, we switch the players around for each piece so they each have an opportunity to sit a little closer up and a little farther back. Our next piece is by the German composer Engelbert Humperdinck, who was active around the turn of the 20th century. His name was taken over by a British pop singer whose real name was Jerry Dorsey. And Jerry Dorsey didn't have too much success with his original name, but somehow when he took over Engelbert Humperdinck, this sort of exotic name, he became quite popular. But the real Engelbert Humperdinck wrote an opera on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale. At the early part of the 20th century, it was an immediate success, and it has been in the standard opera repertoire all over the world ever since. This music is charming, it's tuneful, and the particular part we're going to play for you is an arrangement for string orchestra by Dan McDonald of the scene where Gretel tries to teach her clumsy brother Hansel how to dance. The cellos always take a little longer. They have more to move. So our next piece is by the Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg. Mr. Grieg has written two very beautiful pieces for string orchestra, which are based on two songs that he composed earlier. The first one is called Heart's Wound. And both of these pieces have inspired melodies in them. The one in Heart's Wound is heard first here in the violins, and then later in the cellos, and then for the third time back here in the violins. The second piece is called The Last Spring. And here, spring is not a rebirth of nature and blossoming and happiness and cheerfulness and all of that, but rather sad, as if it were our last spring. Mr. Grieg had a particular genius for using the element of harmony to create beautiful emotional moments in music. And I think you can hear that particularly in The Last Spring. It has some very beautiful poetic moments. Here are two elegiac melodies by Edvard Grieg. Each year, the Music Institute of Chicago highlights one BIPOC composer. That stands for Black Indigenous Person of Color. And the faculty and the students perform that composer's music throughout the year. And this year, for the first time, we chose not only a living composer, but a woman composer, whose name is Reena Esmail. Reena came to visit us last month and gave us all kinds of interesting insights into her music. What she's trying to do is combine the Western classical music tradition, that is to say the music of Bach and Mozart and Verdi and Stravinsky and Brahms and all of those famous people, with Hindustani classical music traditions and forms and instruments. And one way that she does that is by combining these traditional Western instruments like violins and cellos with Hindustani instruments. And one of those is called a tabla, which is right down here. We are very fortunate to have an expert professional tabla player with us tonight. I've asked Zitoun Sur to come out and give a little demonstration of what this fabulous instrument can do. So please welcome Zitoun Sur. I will be his microphone holder.
That's how I greet good evening in rhythm. So tabla as an instrument, like it's incredible the kind of versatility it has. So as we have been listening to tabla over so many hundred years as part of Indian classical music, but at the same time, thanks to composers like Reena Esmail, incredible compositions I've been playing that she composed. And tabla is one of the featured instruments there, which I haven't realized when I started playing this instrument or learning it. So as I'll try to explain by playing the instrument at the same time reciting, because it's kind of a language, what we speak, like as I greeted you all, same way on the tabla, you can translate the same. Like na, okay? So I need your help to hold the microphone. So if I go into rhythm, dagina da, dagaterekete, datage getaka denenanakata, dakre detete gena datigena, datage getaka denenanakata. So this is kind of a demonstration of a short, like rhythm. I'll continue the rhythm a bit. Same rhythm is continuing. that is kind of a mix and match of, I don't know what I did. Okay, so that's kind of the improvisation that goes with this instrument. It goes for the concerts of Indian classical music goes for hours, where we kind of communicate on the stage. We have a raga and the rhythm. Obviously, the tempo is something we decide on the stage and then expand. But I'm not going to do it here because I have to follow Jim. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zitoun. So the first piece of Reena's that we're going to play is called Acharanga, which is simply the name of a sacred Indian text. And this music is in not the traditional 2-time or 3-beat or 4-beat, but in 7. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pa, 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 pa. It's very driving, very fast, and he really keeps us steady, as you can see. So here is Acharanga by Reena, Esmail. Our second piece by Reena is called Testament. This is a more substantial and indeed more powerful piece. And it uses Hindustani scales, which have a few peculiarities that are not the same as our Western scales. For example, they have slides between notes often, rather than going da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. And they also have very quick sort of grace notes, da-lium, diddlium, diddlium, stuck in the middle of it. It's very, very fascinating, and the combination of these two musical elements of the West and the East is just a new thing in music that Reena is a real champion of. Here is her Testament. Thank you very much. Each year, we invite one of our graduating seniors to give a little talk about what the Academy experience has meant to them. And this year, we are very happy to have asked a senior who has been with us for 5 years, cellist Amelia Zitoun.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. And thank you, Mr. Setapen, for inviting me to speak on what the Academy has meant to me. I've watched many of my older peers and role models carry this role for many years, and I'm honored to be able to speak on this very bittersweet occasion. My time at the Academy has been so pivotal. When I first arrived here 5 years ago, I was a shy, wide-eyed 8th grader. I'd never played chamber music. I'd never taken a music theory class, and I certainly had never played music with people of this caliber. I felt daunted by all the amazing musicians who had already been a part of the program. I was nervous. I felt a little bit like an imposter, but from the moment I stepped into the building and saw how everyone embraced each other as family, I knew this was a special place to be. For 5 years, every weekend, I have driven down bright and early on Saturday mornings to Chicago. The week leading up to each Saturday always dragged along so slowly, and I wish that the days would go by faster. Every morning of the week, I dreaded waking up for school, snoozing my alarm for an hour, waiting for the very last minute before I had to leave. But every Saturday, I was always up at 6 a.m. with a pep in my step, excited for the day. The Academy has made me excited to learn, and it showed me what it means to do something I truly love. I've grown here so much. When I first began, I was 4'11". Now, I'm proud to say that I stand at a towering 5'1/2". But in all honesty, my time at the Academy has taught me what it means to be a musician. It has shaped me into the cellist and the person that I am today. From Mr. Setapen, I learned so much more than just how to play in an orchestra. He taught me how to play as a part of a section. He taught me how to pay attention to every single detail written into the music, especially when he assigned orchestra excerpts for seating auditions, where he was so incredibly picky with the score. I have so many wonderful memories playing in this orchestra, but one of my absolute favorites was playing the first Shostakovich piano concerto with Winston Choi a couple of years ago. Mr. Setapen prepared us so well, and we knew every little detail inside and out. Playing the piece in concert was an absolute joy. Even though we were still wearing masks, I could tell from everyone's eyes that they were all smiling and enjoying the music together. But above all, what Mr. Setapen really taught me was how to remain curious about music. Curiosity builds a complete musician, one who always strives to learn and to improve in every facet. Not just learning your part of the piece, but learning the other parts, discovering other works by the composer, learning about the composer's life. He has shown me that it takes care, diligence, and inquisitiveness to learn and perform a piece, and that the more you know about music, the more there is to learn. Music is a rabbit hole that I'm grateful to have been led into by Mr. Setapen. From Mrs. Sue Polutnik, I have come to appreciate the magical art of organization and the importance of prompt email replies. As the Academy's executive director, she has kept this place running smoothly since its inception. I admire the way in which she is always prepared and has kept us informed on everything we ever need to know. Filled with optimism and generosity, she is supported and rooted for each of us. I always eagerly awaited our weekly email filled with information for the week, including my peers' achievements that she always celebrated. For all of her support, generosity, and kindness, I thank her. Next, I would like to thank the various Academy faculty and staff, in particular, the chamber coaches who have taught me how to play music with others, how to play in a group while still maintaining individuality, and who have guided all of us to build lifelong musical relationships. I've had the privilege of working with numerous chamber coaches over the years, but I've had the pleasure of working with Rodolfo Vieira for these last 3 years. I admire his attention to detail, his positivity, and his graciousness with his time. I hope he never forgets the day that my quartet dressed up like him last year. We will always be Rodolfo wannabes. The music theory teachers made a subject I once disregarded feel fresh and interesting. Who knew that a common tone diminished seventh chord could be so exciting? The skills I learned in music theory allowed me to see music from the composer's perspective and has added so many layers to my music education. I would also like to thank the various academy coordinators who over the years have managed to keep all of our musical shenanigans in check. From organizing our fish-off applications to taping our music together and helping set up the chairs and stands, we appreciate all you do, from your encouragement and coordination to your herding skills. It goes without saying that each of our private teachers have had a significant impact on each and every one of us. They have helped guide us into confident artists. I would like to personally thank Horacio Contreras and Hans Jensen for their incredible guidance, sense of humor, and continued support through all of my musical endeavors. I still remember my first lesson at MIC 6 years ago. I thought the drive down to Chicago from Milwaukee felt so long, but I never anticipated that I would have to be doing this 3 times a week for the next 5 years. The real unsung heroes of the Academy are all of our parents. They are the ones who drove us to our first lessons. They are the ones who sat in those lessons for years, taking notes that we, to be honest, probably didn't even look at. They worried for us, traveled with us for lessons, concert, and competitions. They moved around their work schedules for us, sacrificed their time to support us in our endeavors. Thank you. And very lastly, I would like to thank the ones that I sit alongside with on this stage. These people are my closest friends. They're the ones I get to play music with, the ones I trust the most, and I know that I will keep them close for as long as time permits. It has been a privilege to have been able to grow and watch my peers grow alongside in this magical place. For the last 5 years, I'm grateful to have been able to call this place my second home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amelia, for those heartfelt remarks. We now come to the part of the program where we introduce our graduating seniors. Let me get this out. So, in alphabetical order, we have Nolan Chang over here, who is still deciding which school he will go to. Nolan Chang, please applaud each of them. Thank you. Bianca Chubankan, who could not be here with us tonight, but she is going to Harvard University, majoring in applied mathematics, economics, and music. Then Zachary Guo, who also could not be here, he is going to Stanford University to study musical composition and psychology. Here with us, close to me, is Sergei Kalinovsky, who is going to the Colburn School in Los Angeles to study cello performance with Clive Greensmith. And right down here in the first row is pianist Noah Kim, who will also go to Harvard University studying statistics and the New England Conservatory studying piano performance. Another one of our cellists, Xavier Miyazaki, will be going to the Bienen School of Music at Northwestern University, studying cello performance with Hans Jensen and dual majors in history and neuroscience. A busy guy. Sitting somewhere over here is Clark Snavely, who will be studying at the New England Conservatory of Music with Miriam Fried. Ming Chi Ya over here is going to be taking a gap year. Also in the front row, Ethan Zhang will be going to the Juilliard School in New York to study piano with Soyeon Kate Lee. And last but certainly not least is Amelia Zitoun going to the Colburn School. So the next part of the program is called Tune-Up. So if you will indulge us for a few moments here while we get in tune. And so we close our program with the music of Czech composer Antonín Dvořák. Dvořák was one of the best melody writers of all the great composers. This man could write inspired melodies as easily as water comes out of a faucet. Just incredible. He's like Schubert that way. They are two of the composers who had this natural instinct for writing inspired and totally memorable melodies. Dvořák wrote this piece, which takes about 25 minutes, in 12 days. Somehow these geniuses get into a zone and they just concentrate and they can conceive of all of this. I'm not sure I could write this piece out from the score in 12 days, let alone compose it and write it out, but he did. Dvořák has the ability to touch us immediately from his heart. This piece is in 5 movements, and in the first minute of the first movement, you will hear music that is soft and tender and very intimate, that builds to a climax that just grips you within the first minute of the piece. The second movement is a very ingratiating waltz. The third, a very fast movement, rather virtuosic for the orchestra. The fourth movement is I think the real gem of the whole serenade. It is a slow movement of extraordinary beauty and graciousness and very, very beautiful melody. And the piece ends with a very exciting finale that's very quick. And he has a little trick up his sleeve, which is that at the end of that fifth movement, he brings back the music of the very beginning of the serenade and then finishes in a wild flurry. Here is one of the great works for string orchestra, Dvořák's Serenade for Strings.